right, good evening and welcome again, right, to Data Digest. I mentioned earlier that this is a very important episode for me for two reasons, right? One, because this is episode 10. This marks the 10th episode of our Data Digest program here at Resa Gratia. So that means we've been running this, of course, bi-monthly for the last 12 weeks. And secondly, because this will be the first time that I will be teaching Tableau. Of course, I gained experience in Power BI, right? We're talking about a visualization or a BI tool before Tableau. And I've been using Tableau for over a year now. So I believe there are some, learnings and hacks that can be passed along and passed across. If you're not in our Resa community group on WhatsApp, then you probably would not know how this came about. But yeah, directly from the request in the group, and we're going to have our first sort of Tableau exposition at Resa Gratia. So I'm very, very excited for all those reasons. I will share my screen shortly and show you what I have for you, right? Of course, my name is Toby Williams. I'm the founder of Resa Gratia, and I will be your host today. And today we're going to be covering how we can build a KPI dashboard, right? A sales dashboard with KPI within Tableau. Now for me, Tableau is a number of things, right? But primarily I see it as a design experience, right? When I first started learning Tableau, I had this difficulty, right, of conceptualizing what I had to, like the calculations I had to create. And it was because I was already used to a way of, writing functions of, within Power BI and Excel. A lot of what goes on there is very functional. DAX, for instance. M language is more of a scripting language, programming language, but DAX is very functional. And it seemed very easy to do in DAX, but then in Tableau, it seemed like you had to design everything. So this is why I'm saying like Tableau is more of a design experience. And that's how I have taken it in the last couple of months of learning. So you're analyzing data, but of course you're also designing the way your visuals will appear, right? You're designing the feel, you're designing the user interface, you're designing that interaction, right, between the user and the dashboard. But for today's expose, right, here is a brief. In the comment section, if you would like to follow along, right, the link to that brief is what I'm sharing now, and let me know if you are able to access it. So you can access the brief if you follow that link. You will also, within that link, be able to download the data set that we're going to use for today's episode, right? So, cool. Now, we have data from a company called Leap Incorporated, right? Incorporation. It's a company that manufactures cars. Let me try to zoom in here. Can you confirm that you can all see this? It's a company that manufactures cars, planes, trucks, vintage cars, etc., and other transportation machines. And the business has been in operation since 2017, and they have clients from all over the world. Now, the executives believe that sales have remained consistent over the years. And now they're tasking you, a consultant, to confirm, right, the assertion of those executives, their claim. And that means sifting through that data to unearth insights on sales performance. And some of the items that you should include in your analysis are yearly sales performance, your monthly sales in comparison to last month's sales, right? Your monthly sales in comparison to the same month of the previous year, right? That same period last year. And then, a prediction for sales, the sales outlook. And if we have the time, right, maybe we'll cover this, but how should the company spend its marketing budgets, right? Its advertising budgets. And that's what we're going to be going through today. And I mentioned earlier there's a lot of different elements, but at the end of the day, it's design. So let me now show you what I built, right, to, as a response to the executive's request for Leap Inc. Now, this is what I built, right? You can have a look at it here. Can you all see my screen? Can you see this? So they have 3-year sales at the moment, right? Started from 2017. Now they're actually in 2019. And here is a prediction, right, of how sales will look in the coming months, right? You have the current year sales, right, which is 2019 sales. And here you can filter, right? So like total sales in 2019 for vintage cars is just 303K. Compared to ships, which is like 110K, 111K rather. And to go more in depth to see actually trend analysis, you can click here and see the current month sales. Now, if you're comparing that current month versus the previous month, you can see it's actually a 12.8% dip in comparison to the previous month. You can see it's a tooltip there informing you of exactly what that KPI is, right? Sales of current month against that of the previous month. And then you have year on year here, which is according to our own requirements, right? The sales of the current month against that of the same period last year. So if we're in May 2019, can you compare that to what it was in 2018 for May? And then it's possible that the company is setting some arbitrary targets or based on a metric, based on a formula, right? To say, hey, this is actually what we should be aiming for, right? Our targets on a monthly basis. So 273,000 for May 2019 versus a predefined target. You can see there's actually a dip. The same information that you see in the KPIs here, you can actually abstract them, make it out by looking at this chart over here, right? So the current year is 2019, this one, right? The previous year is 2018 in the gray line. Now you can see the current month that we're in, definitely May 2019 is higher than May 2018. However, if you compare the current month, which is May 2019, to the previous month, you can see it's actually a decline, it's a dip. And finally, there's been a constant target here, right? Straight line target of 326,000. Is it arbitrary? Maybe, right? But in this case, that figure was actually derived from the average of the previous year's monthly sales. So imagine this gray line here for 2018, right? So each month, right, there is a sales amount. Now average all of those amounts, and that should be the monthly target for the next year. So that's what we see here. So you can see 2019 May versus the straight line, the targets, is still actually a dip, right, which you see as 16.2% difference here. And of course, right, the color codes I have here for the indicators. And I tried something cool, right? Hey, light mode, dark mode, right? Yeah, so that's what we're going to work on. Is everybody with me up to this point? If you are, just drop a comment in the chat. Let me know you're here. And has anyone been able to access that data set, right? So in that PDF, are you able to access that as well if you're following along? All right, cool. So the way this was designed was actually awesome. Great, great. You can see people are here. Nice. So the way this was actually developed was through a combination of different, using a combination of different tools. The first being, of course, we're using Tableau for the analysis, but then for some of these design works, the design aspect, I use Figma. Others can use, Canva or PowerPoint. The idea is, you can design your backgrounds, your interfaces, and all of that in a design tool. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to then take a look at understanding the data sets, right? Then look at how we design the dashboard in Figma. And then we're going to look at, doing these metrics calculations in Tableau. I'm not going to spend too much time in Figma because it's like, hey, did we come and learn UI design or something? So again, this is what we're trying to design, right? But let's look at the data that we're working with. Let's look at Leap Inc.'s sales data. Okay. All right. So the data is CSV, I believe, right? But we can open it in Excel, and just do a rough understanding of what is going, a rough understanding of your data set. Usually I just go through, I say, hey, how many rows do we have in this data set? It's 2,824 rows, 23 rows, right? And what else do I want to know? How, you already have like the snippet that is a 3-year data set. Sales data spanning 3 years, excuse me. So I can, drop down on order dates, or I see that it's actually 3 years of data, on a monthly basis, but then they're actually individual days on which orders were placed, right? For each month, you can see that, look at 2019 and April, right? Different days, orders were placed. That's cool. And then you have things called, you're checking the status of the order. Has it been shipped, or is it canceled, or is it in process, is it on hold, etc. For the purpose of this demonstration, we're just going to do a very simple sales calculation, right? And how can you determine your sales? So your sales is pretty much, you have quantity of items, right? And you have price for each item, right? So if you multiply quantity by price, you should be able to get your sales amount. In actual operations, right, you would actually do something like calculate the sales, right? The amount that you've actually made, as long as it's not in process, right? And it's not on hold, right? So if it's in process and it's on hold, it means you actually haven't made, that revenue, right? But we're going to keep it very simple and say sales is quantity by price. So yeah, that's that. What else is interesting? Quarter, year ID. You can see the product line, right? The types of items that the company actually sells. It's manufactures transportation machines. What else? MSRP is similar to like retail price, how much you should sell it, but we're not going to focus on that. That's more And you can see country and territory, right, for the customers, right? You can see the customers are actually business clients as well. You can see that, right? They're all businesses. So it's like a B2B kind of company. Now, I think that's enough for me, right? If I wanted to do more analysis, geographical analysis, spatial analysis, I would spend more time, right, on, you know, maybe these addresses and the address locations. I probably would spend more time the actual locations to clean. I know how I can plot this on the chart, but we're not doing any of that. We want to focus on KPIs now. So that's the data set, right? 2,000 plus rows, 3 years of data of sales, orders coming on different days within a month over the years. And that's pretty much it. So I'll close that. And I will show you, right? So now we understand the data sets. What's the next step? I will say you have the business requirements as well. So I'm thinking around the business requirements. And whilst thinking around the business requirements, I'm thinking about my dashboard, my canvas size. What am I going to use for my canvas size? You know, I first just do a rough sketch in Figma, right? So let me show you. This is like my, you know, design. This is my design file for this, right? So eventually, what do? I decide for, you know, with respect to the time, we're just going to we're going to focus on designing these dashboards, right? This one, this particular sales overview, right? So I think of how I want my dashboard to look like, and you know, I decide, hey, like, how am I going to piece it together? I'm going to have a, you know, okay. First, I would choose a size, right? So maybe I'll choose 1160 by 664, right? 1160 by 664. That's the measurement, right? The dimensions of my dashboard, right? I add some guides just so that everything has nice padding and spacing. I decide that, hey, within this portion, right? Within this portion of my dashboard, I want to have a big, it's called a band, right? Big ass number, right? I want to have a nice, huge number over there for the monthly sales. Excuse me, I think it's possible to show you, right, some of the, so you can see this, right? So I want it to look like this section. You have a big square over there, big ass number showing the monthly sales. And then at the bottom, this cubes over here, and this spaces over there, I want to put those three: month on month, year on year versus targets. And then in this additional space by the right-hand side, I can put my line chart, right? Make it big, bold, show my current year versus previous year, and show it versus target. So that's clear, right? I'm not going into how this is designed in Figma, but you can do the same in PowerPoint or Canva, right? So I have designed, this is my background, I've designed my color scheme, right? I've chosen my color scheme, and I want to start designing in Tableau. Again, I'll be using the word design. Think of it as encompassing of analysis and design together. Yeah, so I highlight my frame, I export the background, right? Export it like so. I save it to a PNG file, right? You can see I've already saved it before. It's, what was it? It's probably called sales, nope, not sales overview. It was called Argon sales background. I think the name was Argon before, but let me just call it now Leap Ink background. Give it a different name, Leap Ink background 1. No files were saved. It's not a valid. Why isn't that valid? Again, don't know why the export is failing, but I mean, I already saved the copy before. So let's open Tableau, right? And I'm going to open a new file, new Tableau workbook. Okay, let me put this one here. All right, so nice. I hope this isn't intimidating. It's a blank sheet. It's like, it's just telling you, hey, there's a lot of huge opportunity there for you to create amazing stuff. So I want to connect to data. You can click on this, right? I know it's a text file, so CSV, right? So I locate that CSV. I have it here, right? Okay. So you can see that's the data. It's just here. Again, you can decide to remove some elements that you're not interested in. You know, maybe I'm not going to be analyzing phone numbers and address lines. Basically, bring in the data set that you actually need, right? If you're working with, a huge data set with hundreds of millions of rows, of course, limiting the number of columns that you bring in would determine how quickly your report runs. So yeah, let's just say I don't want these guys, right? I can hide them, right? So that's hidden. And when I bring them into Tableau to start working, it's going to reduce my model size. So the first thing I want to do then is, I've connected to my data. Let's see, my data is here. I'm just going to go into Sheets, and from here we can start building. So maybe the first thing you want to start looking at, right, because of the placement, I will say I want to create a dashboard first. I will choose my dashboard size. I remember it's 1160. 1160 by 664. Very odd. 1160 by 664. Okay, so that's our dashboard. I can give it a name. Call it sales overview. Right, like so. Press enter, and I can start bringing in, like I can just drop the background that I want to work with to begin with. And that background, I'll put it into a container, right? It's an image, right? So for that, I can just drag it horizontal, container, hold shift. Now, containers are floating, they can be floating up, they're objects that allow you to, would I say, precisely arrange visuals, right? Sheets, right? Within, excuse me. Items that allow you to arrange visuals in a very, very precise manner, and they can allow you to distribute content evenly. They just package your visuals together in a very neat way, right? So anything I drop into a container, I can move around. So I'm just gonna edit that container. I'll make it start from 0, 0. And I know the width of the container, 1160. The height will pretty much be the same thing, right? The height will pretty much be the same thing, 664. So, nice. So you can see the container is exactly the same height and width of our dashboard. Now, into that container, I will drop, right, an image. So I'm going to drop an image into that container. and ask me to choose the image. So I'm going to locate the image. I have it here. And we can use this. Fit and center. Let me apply. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's done. The image comes with, right, you can see some padding, outer padding. I want to reduce everything to 0 so it fits nicely. See sales overview. Here, this icon, similar to what you see in PowerPoint, allows you to do this presentation mode. All right, so you can see, okay, the edges look all right now. Yeah, I can start building, right? So what did I say I wanted here? I want in this space over here, the current month's sales, right? So you're like, the current month sales. All right. I can see a question. Is it possible to also add the image? Probably, but I'm not, like, I'll have to drop it here. Yeah, sure. Let's try that. So that same image, right, that I have here, you should be able to see it now. Actually, I can just share the entire folder for this, and you'll be able to see. Yeah, so you're following everything like that. You should be able to see that image as well if you want to use that. Now, current month sales, right? How do we get the current month sales? All right, let's go back to our sheet 1. How, it's like the way I build visuals in it, it's like, hey, I can, like, the best way is to look at them in tables, right? So I can start with my order dates over here, and I'll put my order dates here in rows, right? I don't want the year, I want the month, right? That shows up as something like May 20. This is in a continuous format. Let's choose discrete so they show up more like text. And we actually want to say, oh, hey, let's look at the monthly sum of sales. Now, I don't have a sales measure created here at the moment, but I can create that. And to do that, I can just click here, right? This small drop down here and create a calculated field. Now, if you're coming from a Power Query, or sorry, PowerPoint, excuse me, Power BI environment, this calculated field is similar to both the calculated fields that you have in Power BI and measures that you have in Power BI. It's like, hey, you want to create a calculated field, you go into the table section, you write some DAX, you create a new column. You want to create a measure, you can right-click a table and create a new measure, right? And it's always like the difference in Power BI is like calculated fields have additional columns being created. They are being stored in memory, whilst measures are not, right? Measures are more flexible. They only execute when the measures are used in a visual. So in Tableau, this pretty much does the same thing, right? It does. So here I can write my sales calculation. I can say my sales is essentially the product of, I give it a name, product of quantity by price. Let's just leave it very simple, right? That's sales amount, product of quantity and price. Now, actually, so if I drop sales here into this, you'll be able to see monthly sales, right? Sales by month. If I decide that it's not actually month I want here, change it back to year, You can see sales by year, but hey, we want monthly sales, so you can see that. Now, the next thing is I want to start cleaning up some stuff, right? So I want to put this into a folder, right? So I can understand it, right? So I will group by folder, right? And then click on it again, and then add it to a new folder. Create folder. I will call them sales metrics, right? Like so. Now, my sales measure is in here. It's nice and neat. I can always easily reference it. Now, how do we extract this May 2019 sales accurately? Now, so some of this concept I struggled with, right, in Tableau, because there are actually multiple ways to do this. For instance, you can use a window function, right? It depends on how you want your stuff to be implemented. You can create a window function that shows you the index, for instance, that shows you the index of yeah, that's pretty much what it's doing, right? It shows the index, excuse me. Okay, so you can see I have two measures here. One shows you the index, like the row number, right? It shows the row number, and you can see the sales amount. And then you can say, hey, give me the sales amount where the index is the maximum number that you see there. Then it's to say, oh yeah, then that will align to May 2019. But we're not going to do that. We're going to, when I mentioned earlier that it was a design experience, we're going to build it modularly, right? So I added a pipe symbol before. So I will just save that. I know it's looking very bloated. Save that, leave it as that. So I want to build modularly. The first thing I want to be able to identify is our current month. Like, hey, what is the current month that we're in? So how can I build that modularly? So I will say, I will create a measure called current month. So create calculated field. I can say, hey, actually, there's something I want to show you here. So you can see this is month of order dates, right? Over here. And earlier when we dropped our order dates, let me remove order dates again. Earlier when we dropped our order dates, it first defaulted to year, then we clicked, and then we went to month, right? And then we changed it from continuous to discrete, right? So it shows like text, like a table. And now, what was this calculation that turned the order date into month? If you double click within it, you see the actual calculation there. So look at that calculation. The calculation is date trunk of month and order date. Now that calculation, you can reuse it, right? It's actually breaking down your order dates into month and year, right? As you are seeing it there, that's what that date trunk does, right? So if I copy that, right, and I create a calculated field, and this I'll call current month. Current month. Now, our current month is, we can say, let's first find the last date that we have in our data set. So the last date is the maximum, right, of the order date, right? That's the last date, maximum of the order date. Let's click OK. Now, if I drop, so that returns a date type. If I drop that somewhere here, maybe you'll be able to see that. Remove all this, remove sales, right? So 31st of May 2019, that's the last day, right? If I return the month of that last day, then I get the last month. If I return the month of the last day, right, then I get the current month. So if I go back to my measure, current month, edit it. Now the way to do that is then to say, hey, I will use this, my function that I copied, the date trunk, right? So I wanted to return the month part. The month part of what? Now, instead of the order date, I wanted to return the month part of the maximum date, right? The last day in your data set. So you can do that. You apply, click OK. You can see it's actually showing the current month now, right? Which is, it just shows it as, first day of the month, right? But it's May 2019. That is the month. That's the current month. And there's something that I need to add here, right? Just to give you a sense of, it is called, it's a level of detail calculation. I won't go too much into that here, but just know that adding curly braces, right, at the end of this calculation here, is similar to removing any filters, right, that may have been applied on the order date column, right? So this is essentially saying, take a look at the entire thing in my data set. I don't care if in a visual before somebody has filtered this order date, just make sure you return the month in which we have our last date. So I click OK. Yeah, it's going to, but we can always drag that back, which is current month, right? So you can see our current month, you can drop it there, change it to month to give you May 2019. Like so, May 2019, that's our current month. Now, how do you calculate your current sales, right? Like any month you have in your data set, as long as it's the last month, I want you to calculate the current month sales, return the current month sales. So how do you do that? If you click this view data here, right, you will see the measure that you created before, sales at the end. So these sales that you have here is calculating price by quantity, price by quantity, just giving you the sales here. Now, I have my current month there. Let me show you again what we've done. If I drop my order date, change it to month, and then I drop sales in here. Nope, Control Z. Yeah, you can do Control Z, by the way, and drop my sales. Yeah, it can do that, but and I drop this here. Okay. So May 2019, we have that, the month. Now we can say, give me the sum of sales when the month, right, of my order dates is equal to my current month. So give me the sum of sales when the month of my order date is equal to this, my current month calculation. That's what we're going to do here. And we're going to say, hey, create our current sales, and we'll say current month sales. So we can say sum, right? And within our sum, we can add a condition. So in Power BI or DAX, you're having that mindset. This is similar to your calculate, returns is the result of an expression in a context modified by filters. That's what the calculate function does, right? So in our current context, the filter that we want to add is, we're going to say if, so I'm going to say if the month of the order date is equal to our current month, right? Then sales and end it. So the if function works like this. In I can actually put this on a new line if that's clearer. The if function works like this. It's saying, hey, if an expression, then the result of that expression, you can add an else statement, right, before adding your end, but it's not really important in this case. I'm just saying only calculate this current month sales whenever the month of our order date is equal to this fixed calculation that we did before, the current month. So we can click OK. And if I drop this current month here, you know what? Let me move sales as well to this place, right? So you can see, change it to discrete. So you can see sales. Now our current month sales, let me actually move that group, add it to a folder, add it to sales metrics. So carry my current month sales, put it here by the side. Let's see what it brings up. Change it to discrete. You can see it did everything. It didn't calculate for this month, and it goes all the way down to May 2019. Correct. So now we are able to calculate our current month sales. You know, we can create a new sheet, right? Drop our current month sales into the sheet like so, and we start styling it, right? So we can style it in a very nice way. You make it very big, add a, what do you call it? Add a styling to it, change the font size, and actually add the current month as well into it. So here we can say, what do we want to do? We also want to add the current month. So where's our current month? Current month, like so. We add it to the text as well. It's showing the year of the current month. I actually want the month, like so. So you can see May 2019. If we then design it and style it a little bit, click on text, click OK. So I want my current month, Control X. I want it above my sales. Let me highlight everything, make it center align. I want my current month, and I also want to add into that current month, I want to add sales at the end. Yes. If I click on preview, how does this look? So you can see it looks like May 2019 sales, then you have this amount. But that's not enough yet. I can make this other one at the bottom, make it bold, the sales amount, and make it so much bigger. So if you're using golden ratio to design, you might, want to say, hey, if I apply this, how does this look? Like so, it looks like there's a lot of space between this and that. Apply, that looks good. You might want to say, hey, the height of this, the size of this one should be 1.618 times the size of this, but I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to say, I'll make this one 28, apply. One thing in Tableau is you're going to click, die. You're going to click until you get what you want. Our time is running out, but I will show you two more things, right? So we have our current month and, have our current month sales over here. So what we're gonna do is in my text here for the current month sales, I can format it like so, add for the numbers, add a currency, right? And then I will look for, you know what? I meant to actually look for Naira. How do you get Naira here again? I think you can click on, so here you can carry the Naira symbol and place it, but there's also a different way to get the all right, currency standard, super. And so if you type Nigeria there, you can pick one. And yeah, you can also, after clicking that, click on currency custom, then reduce the decimal points, right? So you can see that's carried the Naira across. And I'm including 1,000 separator. So pretty much that's it. And I'll center everything here, center, align, and center here. And you can click this adjustment over here to visualize it in the entire view. So it comes right there in the middle. And I'll change this to current sales. It's crazy, like look how much time it took to just get to this point where we can see the current month sales. So if you have additional data for next month, this is also going to give you like current month sales. Let's see how that looks within the dashboard, right? So in my dashboard, if I go to my layout, you can see under my item hierarchy, I have one horizontal container into which, or within which we have this sales background. Now, I also want to have another container over here, right? One container over here that will house the big ass number and a couple of KPIs at the bottom here. The container can be one massive horizontal container, and then you design the additional containers that you have inside. Because I've done this before, it's easier for me. I know I would need one big horizontal container, and then I'll have a vertical container here, and then another, so one horizontal container, one vertical container here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll come here, drag another horizontal container, click Shift, hold Shift. I'll make it floating, right, like this. And I'll just manually drag this to the edges of where my visual should be, right? It's like so. And so this is the horizontal container. I can actually start filling it with a blank, right? So I can drop a blank stuff in there, and then I'll drop another vertical just by the side. And in that vertical, I can drop the sales, right? So this is what I have at the moment, right? You have, if you look at the layout, you have one horizontal container like so. Inside, you have a vertical container that contains the sales amount, and you can add additional stuff to this vertical container, right? So I will hide the title for this, right click on this, click on format. I will go to the border, right, and remove, not the border, the shading, right, and remove the background, no background. So I click on it now it blends well. So you can see we have our first sort of big number, May 2019 sales, and we have the amount. Now, how do we create a simple KPI like month over month, right? Month on month sales. So the way you calculate your month on month sales is to say, hey, what is the sales in the current month? What is the sales in the previous month? What's the difference between both? As you can see in Tableau, it's very, very modular, right? So the same procedure that I followed, right, to create my current month sales is what I'm going to do for my previous month sales. Can you guess how I would go by? If you do, right, type it in the comments. Again, there's so many different ways to go by this, but the first thing I'm going to do is to calculate my previous month. Like, what is my previous month? That's all I'm going. I feel like that is a very nice thing to do, right? So what is my previous month? April 2019. How do I calculate my previous month? My current month is, hold on a second. Exactly. Someone's responding, get previous month first. Exactly. So how will you get your previous month? Right? What do you have in mind for getting previous month? This is a very simple formula, right, that you can use to get previous month. It uses a function called date add. Exactly, right? Exactly. I can see max month minus 1. Yes, it's a similar idea. Index of current month minus 1. Yes, subtract 30 days. To get the actual accurate dates, right, for the month, I would advise you to use like the time functions inbuilt, because you can subtract 30 days, but sometimes if you don't get your month correct, it might, might give you a different date. So I use a date add. That's why people said if you're familiar with SQL functions, getting and learning Tableau, at least the calculations will start becoming easier. So you use a date add, right? It tells you what part of the date do you want to add. By adding, is either you add to it or you subtract from it. So we're going to say date add for the date part to say month. I want to move backwards in time, so -1 from our current month. That's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to create another function called what? Previous month, and we're going to use the date add function. By the way, if you're new to Tableau functions and you want to find out how to use a function, you can just type it here, type date add, right? Adds an increment to the specified date and returns a new date, pretty much, right? And you can see how to use it. The date parts go from day, month to year, and I think they're also quarter date parts. So my date part here is, I want to, move it in terms of month, lowercase, -1 to the back. That's the interval, and the date is my current month from this current workbook. So that will give me the previous month. Now, if I just go into a new sheet and I drop my previous month here, and I change that to month, look at that, change it to discrete, April 2019. I have my current month, I can get my previous month sales. Where is current month sales? I'm just going to duplicate that, right click, duplicate that, right click again, edit the duplicate. Right, so instead of current month sales, we're going to change it to previous month sales. So backwards, and I'm just going to change this current month here to say, hey, whenever the month in my order date, right? So some sales, if the month in my order date is equal to my previous month, like so. See that? So sum the sales amount if the month of my order date is equal to my previous month. That's how you'd interpret that. Click OK. Previous month sales. If I drop it within this place as well and change it to discrete, you can see how it has calculated my previous month. And you can see how I mentioned earlier that working in Tableau, designing in Tableau, you have to have a modular mindset. So create the sub or the dependent and foundational calculations upon which other calculations will be built. And if you have the previous month, now how do you calculate month on month, right? So you can simply start from there, create calculated fields, right? You can now say, hey, your month on month sales. So I'm just gonna tag it like this, M, you know what, I'm going to say MOM. And it's actually a percentage, right? So my month on month, right, is, right, the calculation is actually like this. Your current month sales, whatever the current month is, minus the previous month, and you divide that by the previous month. And if you look at that math, right, okay, there is an error. Oh, I'm using dates instead of sales amounts, right? Current month sales minus previous month sales over previous month sales. That's pretty much the same thing, right? If you look at the math as current month sales over previous month sales minus 1, right? Because this over this, essentially, so you can write that formula in 2 different ways and it will give you the same thing. But yeah, you get the idea. So click OK, right? Month on month. So previous month, you can see it's 313. Current month is 273K. Of course, there's a dip, right? So if I drag my month on month into here, you should see minus 12%, right? Now, right? So we can call this sheet MOM, right? Call this sheet month on month. And to close today's lesson, right? Because of the time, I'm just going to show you how to do the arrows, right? So I have my month on month here. It's a percentage. I can change that in the format, click OK, right? Go to numbers, change percentage, 0.85. Let's use one decimal place, minus 12.8%. I think that's fine. I think that's fine, right? So minus 12.8%. Now, how do we show the arrow up and arrow down? You know, like you can easily write a function, right, that says, hey, click create calculated field, right, and say month to month arrow, right, something like that. And you can say if this month to month that you calculated, if it's greater than 0, if it's greater than 0, then you add the Unicode character. So on Windows, I can say Windows V, right? Windows V brings up this dialog here. Let me close it again and try it again. Windows V. Damn. Okay, Windows V brings up this dialog. I don't know if you can see it, but maybe because of the screen I'm sharing. Then you can go to emojis, right, and look for arrow or something, right? And actually, this is not a great example. Maybe from here, right? Unicode character, maybe, right? Something like that. And yeah, maybe I'll look for an up arrow. I look for this. Let me copy it. You can see that black pointing arrow. Click on that. And then you put that in text like this. So if month to month is greater than 0, then that's else, or else if, right, month on month is less than 0, because if it's equal to 0, then you shouldn't show anything. Else if month on month is less than 0, then we need one more, which is this down arrow. Click on down arrow, copy this, then that's, I think we can end it here. You don't need another else statement here, right? And you click OK. Now, if you drop this into the text, you can see immediately that it has dropped that stuff, right? But then you're like, hey, so how is this then going to give me the colors, right? The right colors, the green or the red. Now that's the tricky part, right? Like this, you really can't do that. If you change color here, it's going to change the color for everything, right? So you really can't do that. And if you say you want to go into the text options and manually adjust the colors, then it's going to remain that way, right? If the value of month on month goes over 0, right, it's the same color that you fixed it here, so that it will appear as now. So how do you work with that? What do? You're going to split this into 2, right? I'm going to duplicate this. So instead of this arrow, edit. So I'm going to say month on month, arrow up, like so. I'm going to remove this. If month on month is greater than 0, arrow up, end. That's all. Click OK. Then the copy, right click, edit. If month, so this is not going to be month on month, arrow down. Oops. Down. If month on month, if month on month is less than 0, then arrow down, end. Right? Now, here's the trick. In this pane here, in this max pane, right, you have arrow up there. You also have arrow down. You have to add them together, text. You also add arrow down. It doesn't matter. It's only one that will show, right? Between arrow up and arrow down. Now, if you go to your text, right? If you go to your text, you can now play around with it. So how do you want it to be? You want it to be above, right? You want to ensure that your arrows are showing above your month on month. And I'm worried why that's not the case here. So I want my month on month to be bold as well. We used 28 the last time for that one. So maybe this one will be 20, right? Let me apply. Let me see how that looks. Okay. So that's looking like it. Right? Now we're going to say, hey, for our arrow, we're going to place them side by side actually. So you see arrow up, Control X. I'm just going to put it like this. Control A, highlight everything in the center. We don't need this stuff. So my arrow up, I will give it a green color, like so. My arrow down, I will give it a reddish color, like so. And then I apply. Icon, we can make this bigger. Say this is 16. Apply. Click OK. In alignment for the text here, make it center, and we can also center the alignment, middle center, and we can put this entire view so it's right in the middle, right, like so. Now, if we go into our sales overview, right, in here, you can see it's the vertical stuff. I can put another horizontal at the bottom here so that the horizontal will house 3 different KPIs. I will put another horizontal within this vertical here, and I will drag the horizontal to be right at this height from stuff, right? And then I'll drag my month a month and drop it into the horizontal. Remove the title, right click, format the worksheet, remove the shading, none, and there we go. Right? If we had more time, we'll have created other stuff, right? And I wonder if it's possible to add 3 different sheets here. Say, hey, month on month. Can I drag it again? No, I can't drag it. But okay, so imagine I duplicated the sheet, duplicate, and I go back to my sales overview. I drag my month on month 2, right? Like so, remove the header. I drag my month on month 3, like so, remove the header, right? So this is how your dashboard starts aligning and starts forming a very nice shape. I think we're going to round up at this juncture, and yeah, I don't know if you have some questions, right, that you'd like me to go over now before we round up, but the idea in designing in Tableau is building from the ground up, creating modular entities, modular calculations that you can build off of. And I think it's a start, right, to understanding how to build in Tableau very nicely, working with containers, working with formulas, and working with additional tools like Figma. Yeah, I'm getting some base. This episode to be continued. We'll see, right? I believe we'll have like other authors, other guests that will come later with other episodes. But yes, it's a fantastic start, right? It's supposed to get the recording for sure. Let's have the recording. Going to have the recording. All right, link to the WhatsApp group. We'll share that. I don't know if anybody here in the WhatsApp group that can share the link directly, but I don't have it right now. We'll definitely pass that across. Yeah, working with containers can be very tricky. Can be very, very tricky. Yeah, but once you get a hang of it and you can start understanding, looking at things in hierarchies like this, you know, then it makes sense. A vertical container here holding a horizontal container, and everything actually is under one vertical container. But at the background is one horizontal container housing the background. All right. So guys, again, whilst you're here, I'd really appreciate if you could give us feedback, right, on our episodes. I've added the link. It takes about 30 seconds, and we hope that it's going to help us revise and improve on how we deliver content. And if you know of somebody that would be a good fit for our Resa Data Digest, please refer them to Resa Grazia. It would be good to get so many people with diverse skills and experience on this program. Yeah. If you're asking for the WhatsApp link, sweet. John has included that within the chat section. So, all right. Super. I think we can round up now. Thank you so much, everybody, for making this class, making this session. And